Hey guys, Quiv, the Lazy Geek here, and today we're gonna finish what I've started yesterday, which is that needle galaxy processing. Now, the needle galaxy is, by the way, a target that I've never tried for before, actually. Most galaxies I haven't tried for before this season. I thought it was just impossible from my white zone, but yeah, this little camera that could from ZW is proving me wrong. Okay, so we have the image there. It's the right out of the integration. It's still linear, so if I remove the screen transfer function, nothing's visible. And I can, if I do a linked screen transfer function, you can see how this looks like. It's a sea of blue with a few white dots, and welcome to my white zone is what I'm saying here. So I'll just open up the screen transfer function, I'll unlink it, I'll apply it again, and now we can see the galaxy. So first things first, I'm going to make things a bit simpler for myself. I see I have two things, or maybe a few things of interest there. We have a couple of small galaxies here, there, and there, plus the main one here. So I'm actually going to rotate all of this so that the main galaxy is more or less sideways on. So let me go to my processes, rotate, and we're gonna go 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay, and now I will do my dynamic crop. I want to just remove a lot of the image, the corners of the image that haven't been stacked on top of one another throughout the several nights and meridian flips. I lost some framing, all that kind of stuff. And that should include like our main targets, some secondary targets. I could always zoom into the needle galaxy some more later on. This, I think, gives us a pretty nice framing, so I'm going to validate that, and we end up with this. Next step is we're going to do some background extraction. And actually, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a corner that's pretty bright here. It feels to me that more than dynamic background extraction, with this kind of like very, let's say, smooth pattern, the automated background extraction might work better. And let's try it. I'm very lazy with my processing, the lazy geek after all. So I like to just try things and without doing too much either. If it looks like the result is good, I'm not gonna complain too much about it. So here it is. It doesn't look too bad. Obviously, the background still has like a wide range of colors, which is not awesome. But I don't think it's something we can actually avoid. It's very low frequency kind of chromatic noise, and there's not too much I can do about it. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next step that I want to do, and I typically avoid doing it because it's time consuming and pretty annoying to do, is the deconvolution. But deconvolution works so well on galaxies to extract some of the minor, some of the detail, like in that, in the side of that band that crosses over the core here of the needle galaxy. I'm going to try that. So to do that, we need several things. We need a luminance mask, we need a star mask, and for local support, and we need a PSF, which is going to be used by the deconvolution algorithm. So let's start with the simplest, which is the PSF. So we have a dynamic PSF function in PixInsight, which is here. And basically what you want to do is select stars. And select stars. And each time I select 3 stars, I think it's because I have 3 channels, basically. And you want to make sure that the stars are all around the frame, so we get a good representation of the stars throughout the image that we are taking. So I'm going to keep doing that. And here I am. I've picked up a lot of those stars here, kind of all around the frame, so we should have kind of a good star model from that. And then I'm just going to click the little camera icon here, which will extract what one of those stars looks like, from the overall like shape in this image. So here we are. We're done with those with the dynamic PSF. I'm gonna close that, and now I'm going to work on my luminance mask. So to create a luminance mask, I'm gonna select my frame, and I'm gonna use this button there, which will extract the luminance component from my image. We can see that it is a gray component, and then I am going to use the histogram transformation on this to make it dark background and bright foreground, like using the actual image there. Now first, actually, I'm going to just perform, get into the vicinity of the right area with the screen transfer function. So screen transfer function applied, to this image, and then we can drag and drop the screen transfer function to the histogram, apply that to the image. We can also, I'm going to keep it like that for the moment. I'm just going to call this the loom, and I'm going to create a second one which will have like the background more attenuated with the histogram. So we're going to do this. I'm going to clip the background pretty hard, and I want to make sure that I let through in the areas of basically high nebulosity, and that I clip the rest of the background. And this doesn't look too bad. I can call this the aggressive loom. So aggressive loom. That way I remember which is which. So now we have two potential masks there, and I'm going to just to apply the aggressive loom mask at first for my deconvolution. So let's wait on that. There's a third mask that I need to make, which is our third part that I need to make, which is a star mask. And the star mask, based on this image, we want to cover the bigger stars as well. So I'm going to increase the scale here, and I'll also need to decrease the truncation here to something like 25, and I'm going to reduce this noise threshold to something very low. And we're going to run that and see what kind of results we get from this star mask. It's almost done. Here we are. I can run. It doesn't seem to have taken enough stars in my taste, for my taste, so I'm going to reduce this noise threshold even more. I could just play with the midtones as well, which is basically a histogram applied to the image, but I'll just play with the noise threshold, and we should be getting another star mask, which should have a bit more. Yeah, it does have a bit more stars, still not enough for my taste, so I'm going to actually play some more with the settings. And with these settings, it seems I'm going to get something that's decent. So I have my noise threshold pretty low, my scale high to include the largest stars. I have decreased the structure growth for large scale. I've decreased the smoothness, and I have played with the midtones here. And we can apply that to see what kind of star mask we are getting. And any moment now, and we are done. So the star mask, let's apply an STF to it. So I'm actually going to again get the screen transfer function and the histogram transformation on top of that. Reset this, apply screen transfer function, drag and drop to the histogram, apply to here, close the preview. This is good enough, and the name star mask is perfect. That's what I need. Cool. So now we are ready to do the deconvolution. So I'm going to apply my aggressive luminance mask, and here we see that it's properly applied, and the galaxy can be there. And I'm going to open the deconvolution tool in PixInsight, and I'm going to go for an external PSF. I'm going to select this little thingy that we generated with the dynamic PSF tool earlier, which represents like basically my average star shape. I'm going to keep the other parameters more or less the same, except that I am going to include deringing with a local support that is going to be my star mask. And I'm going to validate that. And one of the things I'll do preemptively is lower this global dark value to something like 0.01. I might even need to get it lower. Then I'm going to create a preview, something like this. And we're going to apply the deconvolution of that preview, see how that looks like with those settings. So we can tell it's not going awesome yet. So I'm going to reduce this even more. Let's put it to 0.01. Okay, so at least now we're getting something that doesn't seem to hurt the image. Oh yes, we can see there is definitely a small difference in sharpness at the core of the galaxy. Right, so the band there and the galaxy details are a bit more visible than without this deconvolution. I can do maybe 15 iterations of this deconvolution, see how it looks like. And deconvolution is something that's a bit of a mystery to me. I have no idea what I'm doing when I'm using it. Let me go back to the preview, and yes, so there is definitely some change within the galaxy, and it looks like it is positive change. It's definitely more defined, and I kind of like what I'm seeing. I might decrease this to 12 because I get the feeling that the wing on the right of the galaxy here is getting a bit too weirdly defined. So 12 will probably be the right number. And here we are, 12. I think this is a good result. I'm going to apply that overall to the image now with the mask protection. And I'll get back once it's done. And we're done. So we get a much better view of the galaxy. It is much more defined than it used to be. I'm not sure whether any of the other galaxies were affected, probably not too much, but we can have a look at this one. And actually I get the feeling that we see kind of arms that weren't there before. Yeah, it's almost as if this was a head-on spiral galaxy, face-on spiral galaxy. I'm not sure whether that's really the case, but it could be. We can check later on. It would be interesting to see. So we do get some amount of detail there, which is really good. So the deconvolution is one of those operations that I typically don't do. I'm not a professional at deconvolution, but when it works, it does really good results. Okay, and now that we've performed the deconvolution, ideally I'd want to do some linear state before we stretch noise reduction, but I found that with my workflow and somehow with my very light polluted data, it doesn't work too well for me. So there's a great guide by John Rista about noise reduction. So let me show you how that looks. He makes really, this is a great guide. But with my very mottled kind of light polluted background, it tends to increase even more, like to kind of smear the color of the background. And even with trying to desaturate the background later on, I find that it leads to problems to me, at least with my non-narrowband pictures. So instead we're going to do the next steps, which is going to apply photometric color calibration. So let's launch the tool, photometric color calibration here. I've already searched for the coordinates, but we can do it again. Basically, you can set the name of your object. For me, it's the Needle Galaxy NGC 4535 search. It will find the coordinates for that object, get them. It will fill in those coordinates. And then you want to put in your observation date, although that's less important. But your focal length and pixel size are the most important. This can be acquired directly from the image, so you can open one of the images that your imaging capture software created, which should have all of this information in the fits header, and then just acquire from the image directly in photometric color calibration. And what's cool with this tool is that it will look at, it knows the stars and which of the stars are of what color. And so it can just apply that directly to the image, and we have the perfect white balance being created by it. And it's almost done, and we should be getting a result extremely soon. And here we are. So we get you can see that the point cloud here is properly like on the line, so it looks like it was more or less successful. I can close this tool now. I can reapply the STF on this so that it doesn't look too blown out. And we are done with color calibration. So without further ado, I am actually going to do a masked stretch. The masked stretch is something that I prefer over the histogram transformation. To me, it works great when I then play with tools like curves afterwards. So first things first, I'm going to look a bit at the values of the background, looking down on the screen to this bar here, which tells me that my background is like roughly 0.0023. So I'm going to put like a 0.004 here as the upper limits of my background evaluation. I'm going to take the target background to 0.16, and I'm just going to apply that to the image. And this is going to be basically our histogram transformation. And here we are, it is done. I'm going to disable the STF, and now we have something that is already pretty decent looking with nice looking colors, and the needle galaxy is very visible there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some light curves transformation here. Actually, maybe the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save as, so that I don't lose all of my work. So let's go back to curves transformation. I am going to set this to RGB, and we're going to increase a bit the brightness of bright objects and apply a bit of contrast there. So I want to kind of neutralize the background without going too overboard on it. It's very easy to go a bit overboard. Also, I need to remember that I am going to later kind of desaturate the background, so I don't want to be too ham-fisted on that. I think this is relatively nice. The background is still there, but it's not terribly so. Here, okay, I think this is probably a good compromise for a first approximation of a contrast curve there. So yeah, we can see that the galaxy will be much more visible, the smaller galaxies too. I think this is going to be good. So I'm going to apply that, and next step is I'm just going to apply actually some maybe I'm going to do some noise reduction next. I'll try the HDR transform, or whatever it's called. HDR, yeah, it is called the HDR transform. I'm gonna let it apply lightness mask and see what that gives us. But I'm usually not. I don't know why I like having I don't mind missing a bit of details even if my galaxy cores are a bit blown out. So if I try to apply the default settings there, it's actually not too terrible. It defines the galaxy a bit more, so I might actually run that. I kind of like, the halo aspect of the galaxy before the HDR multiscale transform. So it kind of missed that after I run it. So it's sometimes I feel a bit sad about running this tool. So I kind of can play with the number of layers to see how that looks. There is a definite enhancement in the details, but yeah, I'm never sure that I want to apply the HDR multiscale transform. It does make the galaxy more pronounced and visible against the background, which is a good thing. but I'm not sure. I might apply it at 7, see what that gives on the total image. Yeah, it's not too bad. We can keep it like that. And then I'm going to apply some noise reduction. So for applying noise reductions, I'm just going to use a lume mask. Again, I'm going to extract luminance from this image. Why is this taking so long? There it is. And I'm just going to apply this and invert the mask. That way we'll be targeting mostly the background. And then I'm going to go to ACDNR. And I'm going to apply with the default settings, which I found work pretty well for me most of the time. It's actually a bit too aggressive. So I'm going to reduce that to 1 and 1.5. Still a bit aggressive for my taste. It's not too bad. Yeah, maybe I'll keep it like that. Okay, so let's apply that. But first, that HDR multiscale. Yeah, okay, let's keep the HDR multiscale. Let's try to keep it. Okay, and now the noise reduction is applied. It doesn't look too horrible. I can, on top of that, apply a little bit of curves again, but after removing the mask. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to curves transformation and try to again apply a bit of contrast enhancement. I guess I could try the local background, or local whatever equalization tool, local histogram equalization tool to also increase the background, the contrast that we have. I think this is not bad. I'm losing a bit of detail on the galaxy at the top there. I'm losing a bit of detail on this one, but they're not the main objects that I want to show. Showing that they exist is enough. And the background is a bit less pronounced. We get a bit more contrast, which is not bad. So I'm going to apply that. And I'm going to extract my L filter, my L channel again. And I'm going to apply it, and we're going to try to do a bit of local histogram equalization, see if that does anything for me. I try to be very subtle with the local histogram equalization tool. So I'll put the kernel size a bit bigger because I find that it works pretty well for me. And I put the contrast limit to a fairly low number, like 1.2. Okay, and on the preview, yeah, okay, I'll apply it. Maybe I'll put it a bit less aggressive. I'll put it at contrast limit 1.2 and amount 0.7. See what that gives me. That's a more subtle change, but on the overall image it should make a bit of a difference. So let's apply it. I'm fine with that. And now, once it is applied, with the luminance mask still applied, we're going to play a bit with the saturation, again, using curves. So curves transformation, I'm going to actually increase the saturation with the mask on quite a bit. Sorry, I need to zoom out and reset this. And let's have a look at what it looks like. Immediately, the galaxy takes on a lot of color, which is very welcome. And I'm actually going to overdo it a little bit. And the reason is that afterwards, so this is overdone, I think, I'm going to invert my mask. And I'm going to decrease the saturation overall of the overall image. I might have overdone it a little bit, actually. So I come back in time and I'm going to overdo it a little less because the mask is not like perfect, right? It doesn't completely hide my luminance regions, my very bright regions when it's applied and inverted. So let's try this. Yeah, it's a bit overcooked. And now I'm going to check my mask. Yep, I want to invert it to protect the bright areas. And now we're going to decrease the saturation quite a bit. So it affected the galaxy as well to some extent. Right, we're losing a bit on the blue portions of the galaxy actually. So I don't like that. I might do a more aggressive mask instead. So let's keep it like that. I actually kind of like that color. It's not that bad. I might just, yeah, go back in time a bit and do a slightly less aggressive color saturation. There, that's not bad. Maybe a touch more. I like colors. Colors are fun. Okay, let's keep it like that. And then I'm going to play with my luminance there. I'm going to remove the mask first, play with the luminance and histograms. So I'm going to do a histogram transformation on that luminance and apply this to this one. And we're going to cut off a lot of the background and protect a lot of the galaxy. Obviously, I'm not doing this quite well yet. I want to keep most of the galaxy there so that I don't desaturate the galaxy too much. So this should be fine. I'm going to make it very, very aggressive like that, and then I'm going to apply a multi-scale linear transform to basically make it a bit, with those two first layers, abbreviated to make maybe even smoother than that. I'm going to remove the first 3 layers, and this is the mask I'm going to use to decrease the background color. So I'm applying this mask. I'm going to invert the mask, and let's have a look once I decrease saturation. So yes, the galaxy now is much less affected. I'm keeping color in the galaxy while removing the background color. It's probably not visible very much on the video, but actually I see a stripe of blue, yellow, blue kind of thing here, and with this desaturation it is gone. So now we are getting a much better background, and I really like this much better. I might even go into RGB and slightly decrease the curve there, so we get even more contrast between the bright areas of the image and the background. This is looking good. And let me apply that directly to the image. And I think this doesn't look too bad. I'm not sure if there's anything I'd want to apply to that image. Yeah, I think this is good. I think this is good. I might do some contrast adjustments in GIMP or something like that, but this looks okay to me, and that brings this little processing workflow from an image of a galaxy taken in a white zone, mind you, with an OSC sensor, no less, to a close. It's been a bit long, I know. I've been hesitating a lot. It's always a lot of iteration work, and I don't like to spend too much time on my processing to get like very minor enhancements to the image, but I think this turned out pretty well considering the conditions that I have here in Tokyo. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that, like, you know, my method for both the pre-processing in the last video and the processing in this video have been useful to you guys, and to show you a bit the difficulties that we have in processing in a white zone and how you go about this. So thanks again. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.